Hi, you're listening to Engagement Drivers, presented by EveryoneSocial. Each week, we'll share actionable tips, strategies, and success stories that you and your teams can use to steer your brand, social, and employee engagement in the right direction.
Hey everybody, I'm Cameron Brain. I'm the CEO and co-founder of EveryoneSocial. And for this session, I'm super excited to talk with Leigh Comeau, the senior social media manager at T-Mobile. If you've read any of our content over the last couple years or had any interaction with our team, you've probably heard about T-Mobile and the program that they're building. They've done a fantastic job. They've led the way on a lot of fronts in terms of program branding, how they've scaled their program, how they've designed and run campaigns. And Leigh is really the point person with respect to all of that work. And we've been working together for a couple of years. So Leigh, very excited and thank you for making time to chat.
Yeah, I'm excited too. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, of course. So why don't, just for kind of everyone's benefit, we met, 2+ years ago. And I won't forget that meeting because unlike pretty much every other meeting, we had with clients up to that point, you told us, you and Catherine, who we met with at the time, had said, we're interested in advocacy, but we want something that is going to go to all employees. And you were very specific on that point. Kind of what led you and the team to get to a place where you felt like advocacy was something that needed to be done at T-Mobile? Kind of what were the factors that led you up to that point?
Yeah, that's a great question. So I guess back in 2015, before I joined T-Mobile, they actually tried to start an employee social advocacy program, but they ran into a lot of hurdles with legal around limitations around wage and hour with non-salaried employees.
Mm-hmm.
But Frontline it's totally core to T-Mobile's DNA, and so it didn't feel natural to roll out a program that wasn't available to everybody. So they decided to put the program on hold until a dedicated team could take on the initiative and partner with legal to build out a program that would be open to all employees. T-Mobile it's a super social first company. Besides our brand channels, our execs use their own social to break news. Employees are encouraged to engage with execs in social, which I think is a little bit unusual for a lot of companies, at least in my previous experience. The employees are already using, they were already using social to highlight different, company news and, promotions and team shout outs and stuff like that. So creating an employee social program with a tool that centralized, shareable content and CTAs just felt like a really obvious opportunity.
Talk maybe just for a minute about, because there's going to be a lot of people who aren't familiar with, kind of T-Mobile company culture. And that was something that, we recognized very quickly was like, wow, this is a really special place with respect to kind of not only use of social, but, how T-Mobile as an organization thinks about its frontline employees, in particular customer care and retail. Like maybe just talk a little bit about that, especially as it relates to, advocacy and what's been possible.
Yeah, T-Mobile is a pretty unique company. I was at Honda prior on doing brand social, and we we had all these big budgets and these great ideas to support our new vehicle launches, and I would pitch them to our execs, and they were like, okay, but social doesn't sell cars. And I mean, to a certain extent at the time, they were right. Social's a lot more sophisticated now. But at T-Mobile, the social culture is completely opposite. It's really, and from the top down. Our previous CEO, John Ledger, used Twitter, very heavily, and that extended throughout all of the C-suite. I think every single one of them has a social media presence. And one of the things that our C-suite and leadership really prides itself on is transparency internally and externally. they visit and do town halls with employees, all across the company. They're constantly traveling, or in the last year, doing virtual, town halls and stuff. They take questions from everybody, frontline, from care and retail, are always brought in and invited to these town halls. It's not just back office only. And that transparency, lends itself to like a very passionate culture, because everybody feels very close to the company, and like they, have a piece in it, and they understand, like where our leadership is going. And so, I think all of that really shines through in social. Like I was saying earlier, everybody, at a lot of companies, I think it can be very difficult to get, employees to want to talk about, their company in social. But at T-Mobile, it was the opposite. Everybody was already talking about T-Mobile and social. And so we just had an opportunity to basically capitalize on that, to come up with opportunities to help the content creators, or to just give me people more, content to be able to share out, as it makes sense.
Yeah, culturally, I think there are a few other companies we work with where there's just an empowerment of the employees. I mean, to a degree, just as you're saying, you see leadership doing it, that in and of itself is kind of like approval, to do something. But yeah, just that, I forget the banner you have on and maybe it's not there anymore, but whenever we'd come and visit over years prior, there's some sort of statement on the wall at headquarters about, frontline being the priority because they're the ones who interact with the customers. And I think it's really kind of a special environment, especially as it relates to getting employees active on social. One of the things that you made a decision on very early on, which you've gone pretty deep on, was to brand your program as Dream Team. Maybe just talk about, what were some of the decisions around that? I think it's worked really well for you all, but maybe kind of, what caused you to really want to brand the program, and what have you seen as the result of that?
Yeah, totally. So I always feel weird when I talk to the EveryoneSocial team, because I think, everybody, there internally knows that we don't ever refer to EveryoneSocial internally at T-Mobile. We did not want to just provide a tool for employees. That felt like very cold. What we wanted to do was create, an entire program and a community. And so, it felt like a good opportunity to brand, the program, and, create an experience, and, and make it something easy to reference. It's actually really hard to come up with a program name. We went through a lot of different options, and a lot of different misses, but in the end, we landed on Dream Team. It's actually spelled DreamTM, so it's kind of like a play on T-Mobile, and then of course like a play on Dream Team, and then we went all in. Dream Team has a custom logo. We have swag. We have a URL that actually redirects to EveryoneSocial, so we actually refer employees to dreamteam.tmobile.com, as opposed to the EveryoneSocial URL. We have our own branded newsletter that comes from our own Dream Team email distribution list. Like, everything is Dream Team, and I think it's really made it that community that we were really looking to create. People are proud to be part of the Dream Team, especially our power users. It's something that they talk about on their own personal social channels, even though we don't ask them to. We, if you walk across campus, you'll see somebody wearing a Dream Team hat or Dream Team t-shirt. So, and that's very natural to T-Mobile's culture. You can't miss the T-Mobile headquarters, in Bellevue or Overland Park. It's bright magenta lights, on campus. Everything, is bright magenta. There's, quotes everywhere. There's sayings everywhere. Everything at T-Mobile, feel a little bit special. And so we wanted this program to match that.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's I think going all in on that was like the key, we've seen some programs in the past kind of, maybe they kind of brand the name, but they don't take it much further. And the extent to which you and your team have done in-person activations and some of the other things, campaigns and whatnot, that just kind of continuously reinforce, to your point, it being a community, I think it's been such a smart thing to do. So kind of speaking of which, what over the last, I guess, almost 2 years now, you and the team have done all sorts of different things, campaigns, activations, other things. What have you seen in terms of results? What kind of gives you and your team and those you need to report to the confidence to continue to build, an advocacy program at T-Mobile?
Yeah, I am really, really proud of how well our program drives social media impact. It is on par with T-Mobile's other social teams. Some of our content has driven as much as 50% share of voice compared to execs and brand social. And that's pretty incredible. We have 18,000 employees signed up to be part of DreamTM, but really only about 10% of our employees at the company are active users. And even for the majority of like our top tier campaigns, we really pull out all the stops for, engagement, on those campaigns is closer to about 3% of our employees. And so that means that our content is strong enough to perform well in social. We put a lot of emphasis on our content to ensure that it's, compelling in social, and that it will capture people's attentions and that it will benefit our employees, and uplift, their own personal social channels. So not only, is that benefiting, the company through word of mouth marketing, but, it's benefiting our employees who are sharing out that content. Some of our power users have seen their social followings grow pretty significantly over the last year, due to just having a lot of regular and engaging content. And then, on that same note, one of the things that we're really starting to develop and see a lot of goodwill from is our influencer program. So we've tapped employees to host their own like social challenges or to create their own, creative content, whether it's a video or a meme, backed by our team's resources. And we're really looking to grow that program pretty significantly over the next year. And I anticipate that that's going to be a huge driver for our program, both in terms of company value and employee value, for those who participate.
Yeah, I love, and T-Mobile has what, around 85,000 employees in total right now?
I think it's closer to 70 or 75,000. Yeah.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I think the influencer program is just one example of, a whole variety of things that you all have done, over the last 24 months. Love the fact that you're kind of officializing, employees as influencers. I mean, we have other clients, and I think that, frankly, have external paid influencers, and the word influencer is generally synonymous with, people outside the organization that are, somehow kind of more qualified or more valuable to speak on behalf of, a particular product or brand or something like that. But you have some amazingly passionate people, and kind of giving them that extra attention and badge, I think is so cool. Kind of along those lines, I think one of the things that you and the team have done really well, and I know this is probably kind of a never-ending thing, is thinking about campaigns, right? As opposed to just like, hey, this is a program that exists and people kind of come in and come out, maybe forget about it, over time, whatever. Thinking about kind of distinct things, influencer being one. I guess what examples come to mind for you in terms of things that, particular kind of campaigns that were, or activities that were, very successful in either activation or driving sharing or, whatever the objective was over the last couple of years?
Yeah. We actually have somebody on our team who's fully dedicated to designing campaigns, as opposed to only just having an editorial manager. It's something that we put a lot of emphasis on, like you were saying. So with, we've run several different types of campaigns, and A lot of them are incentivized, and the incentivization, it really varies. We like to tie it into whatever the news is or the initiative that we're amplifying. Um, so a couple campaigns that I can think of. One that was really successful was to support our scam block announcement a couple years ago. I think probably at the onset actually of when we launched DreamTM, we partnered with Brand Social to host a virtual scam block party, where everybody, whether it was employees or consumers, everybody was encouraged to dial in pound 662 pound, which basically, would block scam calls from coming
Hmm.
into your phone. And then we asked people to share a screenshot of the scam block to confirmation to social. And basically, we wanted everybody to do it like on the same day, like a scam block party. So we amplified the social event, across all the company. And rather than, incentivizing individually, we decided to do team incentivization. So we said that the location with the highest participation rate would receive funds towards an actual party of their own. So in the end, one of our care sites won a pizza party. So it was not an expensive initiative, but it produced a lot of positive morale. A lot of like really good natured competition. All the different care sites are competitive with each other. The different retail regions are competitive with each other, and then care and retail, and back office, everybody's just, it's a very competitive, in a good way, culture and company. And then, of course, it also drove awareness towards T-Mobile's scam block feature. So I liked that one a lot because it was a little bit different than what we, normally do. Um, and then probably my favorite campaign to date is our most recent campaign. We supported our brand team's Clear the List campaign, where they were clearing teachers back to school lists. So we created a couple of graphics to have employees just amplify the initiative on their social channels. There was an overwhelming response from employees who were grateful to support the cause. Everybody knows teachers in their lives, and their social posts all just blew up. Um, there were over 52,000 social engagements on
Hmm.
1,100 shares. So it
Wow.
was really successful. So what we did was we just kind of like one upped the opportunity and to extend the campaign by 1 week, beyond what the brand was doing, and to close things out on our end. We reached out to 10 employees whose social posts had garnered the most responses, when they shared out the original posts. And we provided them with budget to host their own Clear the List initiative from their own social channel.
Hmm.
So this helped further, the campaign traction. It doubled down on employee goodwill, and just, one day in, each employee already had like well over 100 comments on their posts. Um, that was so successful. We're, looking into how we can do more future similar activations like that.
That's super cool. Um, Maybe just for a second, talk about who's on your team, because I think teams differ. You mentioned you actually have someone who's dedicated to uh, basically devising campaigns. Who is on the dream team behind the curtain, and
Yeah.
what are their roles?
Yeah. I was really lucky because this was a brand new program. There was no, like, I was able to build it completely from scratch and build my team completely from scratch too. And so, like I said earlier, I come from a brand social background. I hired only people who came from brand social backgrounds also, because I knew that we wanted this program to be very, very social first. So we've got one manager who owns our editorial calendar, and she builds out our day-to-day content and CTAs. She partners with stakeholders from across the company. A lot of times she'll take the content that they give her and she'll put her own creative spin on it. She'll create a graphic, just create something a little bit more eye-catching. And she also executes like larger owned campaigns that tie back to company priorities, but aren't in support of, like news of the day. Whereas another manager on our team focuses on those like top tier news of the day moments. So he's building out like really sophisticated, like multifaceted campaigns to support PR and marketing. for employees to be able to share out unique creative content or, participate in a CTA. He's even designed more complex activations like a custom web-based game. I know he's got his eye on VR down the
Hmm.
road, so we'll see where that goes. And then our most recent hire is focused on building out program engagement. So she really is focused on developing the program, making sure that our dream team members are engaged. She has different tactics to like re-engage members as it makes sense, and she's the one building out the employee influencer program too. And then I will quickly mention one element that's missing from our program is utilizing it for recruitment.
Hmm.
And that's something that we'd like to build out, hopefully early next year with another person on our team who would be dedicated to that.
Yeah. Well, we'll certainly talk about that. We've got some really interesting programs we're involved with, as you know, that are just fully dedicated to recruiting. And actually, a couple of the other sessions, including Zach from Facebook, that's the focus of his talk. But kind of to that end, and just to wrap things up, what's on the horizon? What are you hoping for as far as the program and goals for the next year?
Yeah, that's a great question. Like I said, I think one of the biggest opportunities that we have is to really develop our influencer program. We learned so actually when we launched, we started by launching a pilot program in the fall of 2019 with about 500 of T-Mobile's kind of like top social media engaged employees. Like we just manually found them, in Twitter and invited them to join this pilot program with us. And so in that time, we really learned like what worked and what didn't work in terms of like content, CTAs, and processes, and all of that. And then we launched enterprise wide in January of 2020, just a few months later, and we jumped from 500 Dream Team members to over 10,000, like literally overnight. And in that first quarter, we we quickly realized that what works for social first employees doesn't really work for the masses.
Hmm.
And so we had to kind of like re-strategize, our content strategy. And by the end of 2020, I feel like we started to really find our stride. And then this year we've begun, adding in extra elements, like that influencer program, and things like that to our program versus just iterating on it. But I will say we never we never remain stagnant. We never take our metrics for granted. I am constantly reviewing, weekly results and monthly results to see, if we had a dip in social engagement, what do we need to do? Do we need to quickly, design some sort of, easy, engagement campaign to keep things, more even month over month or quarter over quarter? Um, and so like I was saying, with that, I think the influencer program is gonna be huge for us. In addition, I'm looking to create an opportunity. I'm hoping to partner with PR and media, and I don't know if it's going to be this year or next year, but to see if there's an opportunity for employees to break news in social. I think that could be pretty cool. But it's got to be the right moment. So it's something I've got my eye on, and I'm hoping to figure out. Um, and then otherwise, we're also looking to, like really build the program, bring the program to our employees, meet them where they are. We are finding that even though it's just so helpful to have, our own tool, with all of our content and CTAs in it, a lot of times, employees, what little time they have to be, online, they're on our intranet or on Slack. And so we're really trying to build out integrations into both of those locations so that employees can hopefully just share our content out straight through those mediums, still utilizing the EveryoneSocial software for analytics.
Yeah, for sure. Absolutely. And, I think just to kind of, say exactly what you said, I think, having worked together for the last couple of years, I think one of your and your team's greatest strengths, and I know this is, part you and part the culture at T-Mobile as well, is just this high degree of kind of agility, right? You see something that's not working, and it's not like, let's just simply do the same thing and try harder, but let's think of new ideas, new approaches. I think your realization of starting with kind of social first employees, and that amongst the 80,000 some odd T-Mobile employees, that there's a broad spectrum of kind of aptitude, right? And not everyone operates in the same way. We've talked about kind of the 1-9-90 kind of breakdown of basically any community, including a community of employees. And how power users are absolutely critical, as you're addressing with your influencer program. But there's different strategies and things you've got to do to engage those other people. And even though they may not be doing things as kind of deeply and perhaps as frequently as some of those other folks, they're very important kind of participants in the community as a whole. But just compliments to you and the team there for keeping us on our toes, and also just continuing to kind of iterate and innovate on your own program. It's been really exciting to be a part of, and appreciate you taking time to share a bit about the program and kind of your history with everyone here.
Yeah, thanks for having us.
Thanks for listening. We'll be back next week with more engagement insights. Want to know how EveryoneSocial can provide you with the tools needed to keep everyone at your company connected, informed, creating, and sharing? Visit EveryoneSocial.com to learn more.